I am Joe Cena. I am running for sheriff of Pender County in 2018. What I would like to talk to today is school safety. This is a very hot topic in our country today, and for obvious reasons, all the school shootings that we've had. But let's look at Pender County. We have over 60,000 citizens in Pender County, and our population is growing very, very fast. We should break 80 to 85,000 citizens in the next 10 to 15 years. We currently have 16 public schools, and that number is growing. We have over 9,000 students in our school system. Our county is the 5th largest county in the state of North Carolina. We have over 900 square miles of land to cover. This comes into play when we're having to respond to our schools for any type of incident. The average response time across our nation for an emergency or critical incident is 4 minutes. 4 minutes for an officer or deputy to arrive to that situation. Well, in our county, with a large terrain of 900 square miles, that time could be heavily increased, especially on the east side of our community where we have a very, very high traffic volume. So we have to look at these things when we're protecting our children in our schools. Now, children are very near and dear to me for multiple reasons. I have 3 children. I have a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old. So I look at school safety in a different light than people who don't have children, because my children are there, and when I'm at work or I'm going about my day, I want to know my children are safe. So as sheriff of Pender County, I plan on addressing these issues and looking at them not only as a sheriff, but as a parent. And that gives me a different connection to the situation. The second part of that, I used to be a school resource officer. I used to be a supervisor in school resource officers. I also used to be an active shooter instructor for almost 10 years. So I've taught hundreds of officers in our community and next door to our community how to respond to active shooter situations. So I have a little more in-depth knowledge when responding to critical instances and things of this nature. And these are the types of things I'm going to put on the table and I'm going to use to make my decisions in Pender County. Now, when you look at our school resource officer unit currently, we do not have a deputy in all of our schools. This is unacceptable. We as taxpayers in Pender County, we want our children safe. I would much rather have an extra deputy in these schools than any other project funded throughout our community. Today, there's many other ways to pay for officers. There's grants. We can work and have a strong relationship with the school board, with the Board of Education. But we need to figure this out. We need to stop the back and forth about bigger issues, and let's look at school safety and protecting our children. So when we go to our school resource officer unit, we want to make sure these school resource officers have the best training available. We want to make sure that they're in good shape, physical shape, to take care of our children. When you pull into any school in Pender County, I want you to know that officer's there. I expect a marked sheriff vehicle to be parked in front of that school. I expect that officer to be in tip-top shape. I expect his uniform to be professional, and I expect him to give you the greetings of the morning so that everybody who comes on that campus knows there is a sheriff's deputy at that location. We are not going to allow a crime of opportunity to occur because we will be prepared. We will provide the top-of-the-line training. We will provide the top-of-the-line deputies to protect your children so you can feel safe. There's several other things we'd like to do, and one of those is we want these school resource officers to be counselors and friends to your children. We want them to build strong relationships with your children, not just be the guy that walks around in a uniform to protect you. We want to be on first name basis with your kids. We want to get that strong relationship so your children feel comfortable talking to that officer. This can be achieved very easily by having the right people in these positions and the right leaders in charge. There's also a piece of paperwork called an MOU. It's a Memorandum of Understanding between the school system and the sheriff's office. We want to make sure we have the best one possible to allow these school resource officers to function as administrators in the school atmosphere. We want to play that dual role. I want your children to grow up knowing that they can talk to a deputy anywhere at any time about anything and feel comfortable. It all comes down to prevention and awareness and training. And if we haven't opened that door for the community, then that's our fault, and we want to fix that. So let's look at active shooter situations, which is the hot topic. In 1999, you had Columbine High School. It's a very tragic situation where students took it upon themselves to harm children. So at that time, law enforcement across our nation was under a police model of surround and contain. We did not run into a school to stop a shooter if a shooting happened. We would surround the school, make sure nobody can escape, nobody else can get in, and we would wait for SWAT to respond. So if we did that today, the national average for a SWAT team to respond is 50 minutes. We don't have 50 minutes to wait for a SWAT team to respond. So we have to look at other alternatives. So then we researched the national average for a response to an emergency. That's 4 minutes. We don't have 4 minutes to respond and be able to treat a situation. If a student or any other individual comes into a school and starts shooting, we need it to stop immediately, as fast as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we have a school resource officer in every school. And we're going to make sure they have top-of-the-line training, that they know how to handle an active shooter situation, that they have everything they need in their arsenal to do everything they can to limit the amount of damage that could happen from whoever decides and makes this mistake. Another thing that we're looking at doing is we want to formulate a new unit. We want an SRU unit. This is going to be a school response unit. These individuals, a group of 5, will work our entire county. They will be spread out throughout our county. They will have a different set of training, a different set of equipment, but their sole purpose is if we have a high-risk situation in the schools, they can respond immediately and put those extra resources into play to protect your children and my children. We feel strong about this. Funding is not an issue. It never should be an issue when it comes to our children. We have other avenues and we have to explore those avenues. Recently, in Florida, we had a very, very tragic situation in Parkland. 17 people were killed. 17 were injured. This was another active shooter situation, and this was just recently. What's important to remember about that situation is that was the 208th school shooting since 1999 when Columbine occurred. So we hear the argument all the time that this will never happen here. I ask you, contact any one of those 208 communities and ask them if they ever felt like it would occur in their community. We can't ask the what-if game. We have to plan and plan now and be proactive. I truly hope and pray that it never happens here in Pender County or anywhere else in our country. But unfortunately, it will happen somewhere at some point. But we will be prepared, Pender County. I promise you that. Because I, as your sheriff, will make sure that our officers are trained and trained appropriately. They will be ready to handle the situation at hand. 900 square miles, ladies and gentlemen. That's how much space we have to cover. And we have to do it appropriately. I'm going to tell you again, children are our #1 priority. My children are in this community. And I will make sure as sheriff that we protect everyone to the highest ability possible. And I will not accept the excuse that we don't have the funding. We will make it happen. We will have officers in your schools, and we will have a response unit that can respond immediately to handle the situation. We ask for your vote. God bless all of you.